Welcome back to Max Black. Today we're going to talk with a panel of executive coaching and diversity, equity, and inclusion experts on how to make sure that women are making sure that their career is on the right path right now and in the future. So join me real quickly in saying hello to this incredible panel, starting with Kimberly Carter. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi.
Hi, can you tell us a little bit about the women that you work with? I believe you focus on millennial women, correct?
I do. I focus on millennial women in leadership and emerging leaders, and focusing on just making sure that they get what they need to step into those leadership roles so we can take everything to the next level.
Love it. And next to you is Geneva Green. Hi, Geneva.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit about the women that you work with in terms of your coaching practice?
Oh, sure. So I work with women who are in corporate spaces, who are aspiring to new levels in their corporate space, supporting them, making sure they have the right environments to ascend to the levels that they desire.
Love it. And Angel Henry, how are you, Angel?
Doing great.
Let's hear a little bit about the women that you help.
Absolutely. Well, I am very much a fan of coding boot camps and Girls Can Code.
Yes.
However, what we need to recognize in corporate America is that we are here now and ready to serve and lead now. So the pipeline is full and ready for women who are ready to ascend to the executive and higher ranks into the C-suite.
I love it. So let's start with you, Angel, because I know you have a very strong focus in the tech space, correct?
That is correct.
So let's talk about women, and particularly Black women in tech. Yes, I know. You had to take a big inhale with that question. Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about really what is the lay of the land for Black women in tech? As someone who's not in that space, I would assume it might feel very isolating. It might feel very sort of challenged, both with regards to race and gender. Mm-hmm. You know, what are some tips and tools you can give Black women in tech in terms of safely navigating a career in that space, but keeping their sanity and their happiness intact along the way?
Oh, well, that is a tall order, Dr. Davis. So what we're talking about is what we call emotional tax or corporate trauma. And I was introduced to that term just a year ago myself. I was suffering from it, but didn't know what it was. And so essentially, when you're in a corporate space and you are the only, and that's what we're called, the only, very oftentimes we find ourselves as being the only ones at the seat, at that seat at the table in our teams and leading. And so it becomes very isolating, like you said, and the depression, the imposter syndrome, the constant questioning of, did they hear me? I'm talking and no one's responding. Is it me? And over time, that has some trauma to you. And so we have to take the assessment to start to, what I would say, undrown ourselves from the fact that of all this trauma and consideration. So what I recommend to women in terms of practical tools and techniques is, one, find that sponsor, find that person that is your supporter and help get you to the next level. And then two, and most importantly, a good girl tribe.
I love
have to have that.
I love that. Geneva, do you agree that girl tribe is essential?
Absolutely. I think that girls tribe is so essential to releasing some of that emotional tax, right? Because it's so built up. You need a place of individuals where you can safely, we call it psychological safety, where you can safely express sort of what's going on with you mentally and really release that so that you can show up better in the workplace or in life.
I love it. And I know with you work specifically a lot with millennial women. Now, you know, I think sometimes millennials get like a bad rap in the workplace. Everybody wants to dump on millennials, but I think that, you know, millennials are actually a very important part of making businesses thrive. Can you tell me about what particular challenges perhaps that millennial women face in the workplace and what corporations need to do to help them to be able to rise up the ranks and literally stay in companies instead of always having to maybe go to that next one to find the better opportunity?
Okay, sure. And like you did say, millennials get a horrible rep. step. However, it's the millennials that will be able to step into leadership positions that some of the women in the workplace now, as they step up, the millennial women can step into those roles. They're poised to bridge Generation Z into the workforce because they'll help them understand and see how they can grow in leadership. And so the millennial women are very integral to businesses and corporations. And also, you don't want to invest all of that money in your millennial women leadership to have them walk out the door, because millennial women know what they want, and if they're not being recognized and brought up into leadership spaces, they will exit your corporation. They will leave you. So you just want to make sure you're nurturing that leadership within them and inviting them up. Like was mentioned, making sure you have that sponsorship, that corporate training that specifically addresses their needs.
I love that. And a big piece of advice you would give either to women who want to rise or to people who need to sponsor. You can choose which one you want to talk about. What bit of advice would you give them to make sure that they are opening doors for more Black women to be able to rise up the ranks in the workplace?
Well, I speak to the women who desire to rise. You make sure that you step out of those shadows and that marginalization and into the light of leadership. You let people know. You start networking. If you're being over-mentored, you open up your mouth and you say what you need. It's very important.
Love it. Geneva.
I speak primarily to those that are supporting these women. And so I think first, learning some empathy. Excuse me, and that starts with listening. Listen, ask a question and be quiet and listen. What does this person have to say, right? And learn from what they're saying. Learn from what their experiences are. And don't judge it, Each person has their own experiences, so acknowledge that and then act on what you hear. Have a conversation about what actions can take place to help this person achieve what they're interested in.
I love it. Angel, we'll wrap up with you.
I will speak to the women. I would say don't make the same mistake that I did. Don't put your head down and think that you're going to code your way to the top. Please, please, please create yourself a personal board of directors. That's a sponsor, a mentor, and an advisor, and make sure that group is diverse.
I love it. These are incredible tips. I want to thank you all, ladies, for joining us today. Such important information. And thank you for joining us again on Max Black.